Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's Back to the Basics. My name is Brendan Blake, and I am the Associate State Director of Advocacy with AARP Arizona. AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. With a nationwide presence and nearly 38 million members across the nation and approximately 900,000 in Arizona, AARP strengthens communities and advocates for what matters most to families: health security, financial stability, and personal fulfillment. In the month of March, welcome to the first day of March, which feels crazy to say, we will focus on providing resources to help consumers manage their debt and savings and provide trusted information to make the best financial decisions. AARP is your wise friend and fierce defender of consumers' finances, and we are helping you manage money while fighting on your behalf to protect what you have earned. We are here for you and will help you navigate the challenging road ahead. Visit aarp.org/money. Or for more resources and information, visit www.aarp.org/moneymap. Also, as a side note, we have a bill at the legislature that we have been fighting for, our 1375, our Work and Save program, which will help you save money as you work if you work for a small business. So contact your legislators and ask them to support the bill. Again, that's 1375. So, Coach Sherry Ann, welcome. How are you today?
Thanks, Brendan. I'm good. How are you?
You know, it's been a crazy week. It's as I mentioned, I'm the advocacy director, and this last week was what's called crossover week, where all of the bills have to be heard in their house of origin before they can go over to the other side. And if they don't get heard, they die. And so it's always a crazy week. So.
Well, you choose the word crazy, and I was wondering if you were going to throw in there, it's been a stressful week.
You know, I would say yes, it has been a stressful week. So I think that this is a perfect time for especially us in the advocacy world to focus on stress management. So can you just sort of start us off here and where we're going to begin?
Yes, absolutely. So, and it's interesting because like for you guys and a lot of other corporations, people are really now going back into the workforce, back into the buildings, and that creates some stress because there's just still so many unknowns, and the messages that we're receiving are not congruent. And so there's just, that creates a lot of stress, and the goal isn't to eliminate all stress, because there is an element of stress that is beneficial. It does help us get things done. It does elicit a different response in the body. So we do need stress. Just, we don't want the unnecessary stresses, wreaking havoc on our lives. So it's a matter of managing those. And usually when people are, the unnecessary stress comes from when you feel like you have little control and few choices. And that's what really sends people into kind of a spiral of feeling super stressed out. And most of the stressors that people are facing are their jobs, relationships, financial issues, health problems, and even the mundane things of like cluttering your house, like, or, just having a busy schedule. Like I hear so much, like, I'm just so busy, like, well, being busy is actually a good thing. Like you just have to shift your perspective on it. But
yeah,
all of those stressors do cause a visceral response in people, and they can show up in a lot of different ways. So what I'd like to do is just quickly like run through like 10 very easy tips, and then I'm going to dive into a few of them that require a little bit more conversation, so to speak.
that sounds great.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. So the biggest thing is about managing your stress is set your priorities. People have a tendency to just get overwhelmed, and it's just, there's too many things, and being overwhelmed is what, like I said earlier, it's like, it's few choices and, little control. So if you just set your priorities, that's going to make a huge difference. Just decide what's most important in your life, and those that matter to you most, your family. So identify what you can delegate. There's things that you can load, get off of your plate. I'll never forget the saying my dad said to me years ago, because I was, managing so many different things. And he was like, you might want to take some of those peas off your plate before they roll off, and so like delegate. If you can delegate things, if you have a partner in life, or if you have older children, or coworkers or friends that can help you out, just learn to just delegate. There's nothing wrong with that. Another
Yeah,
good
that's
thing
great.
is to set goals. Set goals for yourself because that will actually help you attain certain things, and not feel like you're just spinning your wheels and feeling overwhelmed. So just set goals. And they don't have to be massive goals, they can just be little goals. Like, say clutter is causing a lot of stress in your house. Give yourself a goal of like, today, I'm going to get all of it's usually stacks of mail in people's kitchens, like that just pile up. And they're like, and it just, the clutter gets to be stressful because you're looking at it going, I got to do that. I got to do that. Just set the goal. Like, one day I'm going to sit down and I'm going to plow through this and I'm going to throw most of it away probably, or file it. So, because that's usually what ends up happening with that stack of mail that's there. So, but just set some little goals for yourself and reward yourself when you're done. Tip number
Yeah,
4 is to, you can say no. It's okay to say no, and you can say it gracefully. I'm a big proponent. Like, I've learned how to say no because I am always the yes girl. Like, I get asked to do things, and I'm like, yeah, I can manage that. Yeah, I'll do that for you. Sure, But I get to the point where my schedule is so full, and I'm like, I can't say yes to another thing. So I've learned how to say no in a very graceful manner, or just not now. And that's okay. So if you're a yes person, if you're like me, just learn how to say no gracefully. Focus on the positive. That's my tip number 5, is really focus on the positive. And we'll dive into that a little bit more in a minute here. But I think having a perspective and finding the silver lining in everything, even when it's a stressful situation, is paramount to your ability to manage your stress and the visceral response that you're having in your body. Number 6 is laugh. Make sure that you find time to laugh, whether it's with friends or watching a silly show or children or grandchildren, but find time to laugh and allow yourself to laugh. It does reduce stress and increases the feel good hormones in our body. So make sure you're finding time to laugh. The next one is music. If you're not into music, so tip number 7 is just listen to music. It Music has a tendency to really get internal into your body, and you'll find yourself moving like you don't normally move, or tapping your foot, tapping your hand. Music does things to our brain to create relaxation. And so put some music on if you're feeling super stressed. It will change your mood, guaranteed. But make sure it's not that sad music. Make sure it's like upbeat music.
right. Yeah.
Uh, Tip number 8 is connect. Make sure that you're connecting to either friends or family or even a counselor. There's nothing wrong with seeking out counseling. I'm a firm believer in having a third party help you work through, just create space for you to talk things out. Because a lot of times when we talk things out, we hear ourselves talk and we can solve our own problem. But sometimes you need that third party just to create that space for you to have that. So make sure you're staying connected to people, whether it's, like I said, friends, family, or a counselor.
Yeah.
Number 9 is exercise. You knew that was going to be in there.
I had a feeling, yeah, a strong indication that that would be part of this.
So we'll jump into that one. I'll spend a little bit more time on that one as well. But exercise is definitely number 9. And 10, we're also going to dive into this one a little bit more, but set 5 to 10 minutes a day to simply meditate and, be very conscious of your mindfulness. So we'll dive into that one also. But that's number
So
10, is just making sure that you are setting 5 to 10 minutes aside for yourself. So that was a lot of 10 tips. And I'm so glad that we have, backstage Hannah to type those out so that, people can see them in the comments section. So thank you.
yeah, so we have set priorities, set
Hmm.
manageable goals, say no, focus on the positive,
Hmm.
laugh,
Yep.
listen to music,
Hmm.
connect, exercise, and set 5 to 10 minutes for meditation. Is there one more?
No, that's 10. You hit all 10.
Okay, okay. Must,
Did you miss your fingers?
I might have missed one.
I'm pretty sure
Anyway,
that's 10.
anyways,
Uh,
so where do you want to start in going over some of these?
so let's just dive right into exercise, because that's my number one way to stress manage. Is I go for a walk or a run. It's typically a run, or really a power hike. But getting out and physically moving your body is just going to allow you to breathe, open up everything, clear your mind, and plus you're actually going to sleep better. You're going to sleep so much better if you get some exercise in. So doing exercise just opens everything up. You can go, like I said, walking, hiking, running, go to a pool and swim. Swimming is actually very methodical because you're not really talking to anybody or looking at anything. You're just looking at a lane line at the bottom of the pool, and it really allows your mind to just kind of process information and really prioritize things. So swimming is great. Dancing, like if you're going to put that music on, you can dance, or you can, if you've never taken a dance class, go to a dance class. Riding your bike, go for a ride. And if you have a little beach cruiser, no big deal. Just hit the canal and, do an easy ride on the canal. Another one is yoga. Go take a yoga class. There's wonderful benefits to yoga because it'll allow you also to knock out that meditation time too while you're doing yoga. And if you don't have the ability to go somewhere to do exercise or don't have a bike, I mean, it's easy to go for a walk, but think about things like park farther away from the door at the store, so that you're having to walk a little farther. Or if you have the opportunity and you're comfortable doing stairs, use the stairs instead of an elevator, especially if you're only going 1 or 2 floors. Gardening, get outside, and it's really beautiful outside right now. We haven't hit, our triple digits yet. So here in Arizona and elsewhere in the country, though, you may not be able to do a garden just yet because some of you are still under snow.
Right.
We did hit 80 yesterday. So, which I'm like, no.
It feels too early for 80, I'll be honest.
I agree. Or clean your house, use the opportunity to do things that you don't normally do in your house, like baseboards. That's what I have kids for, though. But but cleaning your house. So just being physical, like do something physical that allows your brain to just kind of take a break from all the thoughts that are really, creating stress for you, and just think about them in a different space so that you can actually process that information.
Yeah, I feel like for me, the exercise is, I try to do some weightlifting almost every day, and it just you get into a certain zone where it's just the music and it's just the weights, and I kind of have a routine. I go through the same, I have the same kind of lifts that I do every day, and so or different for different days, but I just kind of get into a zone, and it's really great stress reliever. And then I get home and I'm still listening to music, and then I will admit that I maybe try to inflate the amount of calories burned by doing a little bit of dancing also after my workout. So, but it's kind of funny when my wife comes back on a Saturday and I'm just kind of listening to my headphones, and she gets back from whatever she was doing, and she just catches me dancing in the middle of the kitchen, and it's just I try to get a couple of those things all at once is what I'm trying to say. So.
Yeah. It's like maximize it as much as you can.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, and along the lines of exercising too, it always goes hand in hand for me, but managing your diet as well, and not stay away from junk food as much as you can. Keep it to a minimum. I'm not saying, completely deprive yourself, but just keep it to a minimum. And when we're stressed, some of the things to really focus on are your antioxidants, which is making sure that you have a very colorful diet, because that's where those come from. And, your vitamin C and magnesium, that's just going to help your immune system, immune response, because when we're stressed, cortisol levels are up and our immune response is suppressed. And so, especially right now, we don't really want to have a suppressed immune response. So just make sure that you're having a good, healthy diet and staying away from the things that suppress your immune system as well, because sugar is a big immune suppressor. So that's why I'm saying, stay away from some of the junk foods and just make sure that you've got a very colorful diet.
Yeah. That's something I've gotten better at as I've gotten older. I've never been a fruits and vegetables person, but as I've gotten older, I've gotten better about it. So it's something that I'm working on, so that way I can live a healthy life. So
yeah, well, a life, that's full, and like you have some longevity in your life. So it's not, we want to live long. We want to live long and healthy,
right.
Not long and not healthy. That's not fun.
Right.
But, yeah, as people are tuning in, please share with us some of the things that you do to manage your stress, and what you do, and if it's exercise or if it's other things that you focus on, and just tell us where you're tuning in from too. I always love to see where people are tuning in from all over the United States.
Yeah. Thank you, Lisa from Illinois, for joining and saying hello. Hello, Lisa. How are you? But what do we have next that we can sort of discuss?
Yeah. So the next thing too is like your sleep. Your sleep is huge. And I didn't put that in the top 10 that I was giving you because those are like little things that you can do. And but it's managing your sleep, because if your sleep isn't very good, then it's going to impact your ability to just cope and manage that stress. And in 2 weeks, we're actually going to be talking about sleep, good sleep habits. So I won't do too much today about that. You'll have to tune back in 2 weeks to learn some good
Got to
sleep
tease
habits.
it just a little bit.
Yes, yes. But sleep is where your body repairs. Sleep is where your body gets prepared for the next day. The brain actually washes itself. So if you're not getting good sleep, you're not setting yourself up for success. So tune in 2 weeks for the highlights of how to get good sleep habits. But the next one is relaxation techniques, and being mindful of what's going on. And mindfulness is, it's I wouldn't say it's an overused word, but it's definitely become a very popular word in the last 5 to 10 years, maybe. And it's just bringing your attention to the present moment, with an element of non-judgment and pure acceptance. And that's a really hard thing for a lot of people to do, because I think that we are our own worst critic. So we are so judgmental of ourselves. But when we're so judgmental of ourselves, that turns around and creates judgment in others. And when you have judgment, there's just not a level of acceptance. And then with that, you're just not being very mindful of what's going on. And I think the mindfulness aspect is so critical for our ability to just process information and keep a perspective on what's really going on. Because stress also tends to help us create these stories in our head, and live in that stress. Some people really like stress, but being mindful of what's really going on is a huge thing, and it's very, very beneficial. And so that's where the whole, make sure you carve out 5 to 10 minutes of meditation or mindfulness. Some people cringe at the word meditation because they can't imagine sitting there for 5 to 10 minutes and just being with their thoughts. That
Yeah.
actually unnerves quite a few people.
Yeah, and it can look different for everybody.
Mhm,
Mindfulness could be, even doing dishes,
mhm,
or like for me, it's sometimes it's putting away laundry.
mhm.
It's a, as much as I dislike doing it, it's a soothing kind of process because I put away clothes in a specific way. If you know me, that's not surprising at all that I do things a very particular way. But it is sort of soothing for me to do, whether they're chores or anything like that. But mindfulness can look different for everybody.
Oh, for sure. Well, and that's one of the biggest tips I have, is the mindfulness part of things, because like I said early on in the show, it's not about eliminating stress. It's about managing. That's what this whole segment is about, is managing your stress. And how do we manage it? And managing it is being mindful about it, and just creating the space for you to just really process that information. And like you said, yours is just doing mundane, activities. That's your mindfulness time, because it's mundane and it's just routine for you. You don't have to think about how you're going to fold your clothes. So you can let your brain just kind of be in a space as if you are meditating. And some people can do it, like some people need to shut their eyes or be in a dark room, or have some music on, or meditation music, to allow themselves to just shut the world out, because there's
Mhm.
some people that can't be mindful without shutting the world out. And
Yeah.
so when you're doing, if that's you, that's totally okay. Sit there with your eyes closed. And one thing to get into that space is just focus on your breathing. Take 2 minutes, which isn't very long, and focus on your breathing, and just do I've talked about breathing many times on this show, but just do a 4 inhalation, 4 count. You pause and you exhale for 8. And I always say exhale longer, because when we're stressed, we have a tendency to shallow breathe and we don't fully use our entire lungs. So if you exhale longer than you're inhaling, you're getting all of that air out of your lungs, and it's allowing you to belly breathe. So,
Mhm.
and make sure you're belly breathing and not chest breathing. Like we have a tendency when we're shallow breathing and panicked or stressed, we chest breathe. But if you watch a baby breathe, like they use their whole belly because they're just totally relaxed. They're not stressed. Everything is taken care of for them. So they have nothing to think about other than existing and being
Right.
happy. So really focus on your belly breathing. If you're going to do your meditation and mindfulness with a breathing exercise, just breathe through that belly and just do the 4-1-8-1. And it will make a huge difference, and it'll lower your heart rate, it'll lower your blood pressure, and allow you the opportunity to respond rather than react to a situation. Because when we're stressed, we have a tendency to react and not respond. And that's where mindfulness comes into play, is it allows us to respond.
Right. Right.
So there's so many different ways to do relaxation techniques, meditation, breathing. Like I said, if you can do yoga, if you have access to yoga, which we all do because you're looking at me on a computer or an iPad, so you have access to YouTube.
YouTube is great.
And there's tons of yoga on YouTube. It's just a matter of finding an instructor that you like. Because the other thing too is, if you're listening to someone walk you through either a meditation or a yoga, you kind of have to be able to relax with their voice. Because there's some voices, even for me, where I hear it, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to relax. I just can't, like the tonality of it or something. So
Yeah.
just find somebody that fits, suits your how you are and what you like. And there's so many out there, so many. And
Yeah,
so
there is.
Another one is, like I said earlier, one of my tips was laughing. I did the segment with you a while ago because you told me about laughing, because I've mentioned laughing therapy, and you've done it, Brendan.
Yeah, yeah, and there's the book that my wife has that she's read, laughter yoga or something like that. I do remember we talked about this on this show previously.
Yes. So laughing therapy, there is such a thing. And it's learning how to laugh different ways. And you will find yourself organically laughing at yourself because you're like trying different ways of laughing. I do this with my kids, and we end up just in stitches, like crying. We're laughing so hard because we're just making fun of each other because we're trying different ways of laughing, like high pitch, low pitch, fast, slow. But it really does work. So there is such a thing as laughing therapy. If you've never tried it, you definitely should, because it's a hoot.
It really is. Like, the book will have you just like say like he, and then before you know it, you've started to start chuckling on your own because you just feel ridiculous for doing it. But it's just the effect of actually doing it that you get the benefit from. It's not that you're making yourself feel embarrassed about how you're feeling. It's that you're doing something that will generate you to think that it's funny and laugh at yourself, which is always great.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. If you can't laugh at yourself, like, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You
I
really, really
agree. I do stupid things all the time, and if I didn't laugh at myself, I'd have a very sad life if I couldn't laugh at myself.
Well, and when you're doing these relaxation techniques, whether it be breathing or yoga or dishes or whatever, throw in some aromatherapy in there, and there's so many different ways to do aromatherapy. There's, wax chips, there's candles, there's diffuser, like oil diffusers, uh, so many different ways to do aromatherapy. And aromatherapy, though, does send a message to the brain, for the nervous system, just to relax, and it emotes emotions. So aromatherapy has been proven to be very effective. And so give it a shot. Like, if you're feeling stressed, even in the evenings when you're wanting to try to go to bed, try having some lavender. You could even get a lavender spray for your pillows, like a linen spray that has lavender in it, or do a lavender oil, some type of diffuser. That's what I have in my room, is a diffuser. But aromatherapy is a great way to just relax, because it sends a signal to the brain your sensories, once you smell it. It just is a relaxation thing. So definitely, if you haven't tried aromatherapy, it really is quite lovely, because then your house also smells wonderful.
Yeah, we have sprigs of lavender sitting on we have a little mantle. So we have sprigs of lavender sitting up there. We also have aromatherapy soaps for the kitchen and the bathroom. So we are definitely on the aromatherapy train.
Yes. It actually is really, really quite effective. Very effective. You would be
Right.
surprised. But I mean, those are the tips that I have, and diving in deep to just the ones about mindfulness was really the biggest one, because having a perspective on what's really going on is going to be key. And in managing, controlling the controllables is a saying that I usually say when my kids make these, grandiose statements of like, they're just so stressed. I'm like, okay, well, let's figure out what we can control. What are the controllables that we can control? And the ones that you cannot, then we have to sit there and be mindful about accepting them, for where it's at. And either you change it, move away from it, just accept it. Like, there's so many different ways to go about it, but control the controllables, be very mindful of what's going on, and don't allow yourself to create these stories that make it bigger than it really is.
Yeah, I think that that's such a great point that you bring up, is that I think stress really does promote giving us stories, whether they be, they can be totally illogical feelings and irrational thoughts that we may have as a result of our stress. And I think it's important that we recognize that we can produce those ourselves and completely unintentionally, and they can be harmful to us.
Hmm.
So I think that it's a really great point that you bring up there.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going back to what you said, like, because you said I missed a tip. So I was like, maybe I should just run through them really quick, the top 10 again,
Okay.
because I know that Hannah typed them in, but I can't see what she typed in. So one was to set priorities, really be clear on what's important. Identify what you can delegate was number two.
Ah, that was the second one.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
Okay, we got
identify
them
what
all then.
Yeah. Okay. So identify what you can delegate, because we don't have to be the all and everything in everyone's lives. We are part of communities for a reason, but I'm definitely one that I usually am like, oh no, I can take it on. Like, I don't delegate very well, especially being a single mom, but my children are now old enough where I'm like, no, you can take care of that. No, you can take care of that. Like, so learn to delegate, like I said, that was my pea story. Get the peas off your plate before they
Right,
before they roll off. Or another analogy I like to use is spinning plates. Like, I'm constantly spinning these plates, and I can't hold all the sticks to spinning the plates. So
right.
learn to delegate. Three was set short-term goals and definitely reward yourself in that process. So number four was say no gracefully, because we can say no. And then five was stay positive. Number six was make sure you're laughing on a daily basis. Seven was music. Eight was make sure that you're staying connected. Nine was to get that exercise in. And with that, make sure that you're maintaining a healthy diet that's colorful. And then 10 was make sure you're setting aside 5 to 10 minutes a day just to create some mindfulness for yourself.
Yeah, I think that those are all great. And I want to come back to something that you said a little earlier, was that we can't completely eliminate stress.
Right.
We have to manage it. And, one of the things that I've learned in some of my academic studies is that, as you mentioned earlier, some stress is helpful. It helps you achieve optimal levels of whether it's productivity at work or even athletes. I'm sure you can attest to this, that athletes having a certain amount of stress may help them perform better in situations. You get to use the adrenaline of, say, it's a race day or a competition day or game day. You get to use the stress of that to propel yourself even further than you could go in training. But there comes a point where too much stress is no longer helpful, and it's now hurting you, and it can cause long-term problems. And there's a model to describe that. It's called GAS, general adaptation syndrome. And once you get to a certain point, your body's just going to get exhausted. So like you said, coach, it's all about managing your stress and making sure that you're keeping it at low enough levels that you're not harming yourself, but you're able to still take advantage of the positive stress in your life to help propel you forward.
Yep. That's exactly it. Because it's acute stress is good. It creates change. It creates propulsion and forward movement. So acute stress is totally fine. Like, we need it to perform, actually, and perform even in board meetings. You can take someone out of an athletic component, and you still need stress to be able to create change. And so, especially in what you guys are doing with bills, like, you need stress to create change to get those accepted. So there's that. But the chronic stress is what we'd want to try to stay away from. Chronic stress is what will create a lot of health problems for you. So it's important to define and recognize what's acute and what's chronic.
Right, right. Well, we're coming to the end of our time here. So can you tell us a little bit about what we're going to talk about next time? We've already teased it a little bit, but here's another runway for you.
Right. I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to have better sleep habits, how to improve your sleep, because sleep is imperative. If you're not sleeping well, you're going to have all kinds of problems.
Yeah, 100% agree. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We really appreciate you all joining us each and every time that we come on the show. We enjoy having you here, and we hope that you interact with us on Facebook and wherever you're watching this. So if you have any questions, Coach is always available after to answer your questions on the in the comment section. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye, everybody.